All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, I appreciate everyone taking the time to join me today to cover the culture around student safety in today's school system. Before we do get started, I'm Will Baker, one of the sales reps here at Smoothwall. Now, I know some of you may be familiar with Smoothwall, but just to do a quick overview, since 2001, we have focused on providing school districts around the globe a safer internet and overall safer school environment by providing world-class content-aware web filtering. We are a company who is passionate and dedicated to protecting vulnerable students across the digital world we live in. How this translates to you is that all of Smoothwall's time, effort, and energy is spent ensuring we can make a real impact on people's lives by providing the tools to allow educators the ability to proactively monitor vulnerable individuals and intervene early to ensure a child is receiving the support he or she needs. What I want to do today is simply show you what is happening right now in schools across the U.S. and how early intervention supported by appropriate tools can help you create a safety net that will allow students to flourish and ultimately improve the overall teaching and learning experience. So the question we start with is, are we truly capable of recognizing and identifying every single mental health issue in our school today? This is not an exercise to shock, but a reaffirmation that the world is changing and mental health issues have been and continue to be on the rise. Now, as you can see with the above headlines, this is very prominent, specifically in our school environments. Not only are some of these horrific tragedies, but it reflects very negatively on the district itself. Excuse me. Our young people live in a time of constant technological change, which quite clearly has had a major impact on these issues. Yet, our intervention method has, for the most part, remained the same. As knowledge and experts in this area, we need to hold ourselves more accountable on how our students are doing. Could earlier intervention have stopped any of these events from occurring? The answer is probably yes. One of the biggest disconnects we see in our research is that 95% of teachers rely and expect children to alert them of any cyberbullying issue. Yet only 5% of children would actually confide in a teacher if they are being cyberbullied. That is a massive disconnect that suggests this reactive process will lead us to missing a whole range of warning signs. We know this is a growing concern among teachers. They feel powerless due to increased workload, but also their disconnection to the digital environment where many of these issues are stemming from. Can we really expect Ms. Johnson, who has been teaching 8th grade for 36 years, to be able to see a bullying instance on a platform she's never actually used herself? Can we really expect for a teacher to know that if a student is searching about eating cotton balls, that student most likely has an eating disorder? Not only is this hindering our students, but added pressure is causing teachers to miss additional school time as well. Before we look at some of the common daily issues occurring in our school, I think it's important we consider the pressures of the people that are being tasked to deal with this growing situation, teachers and resource officers. The role of the teacher has never been more difficult. Increased workloads, class sizes, and accountability has never been greater. Teachers have the impossible responsibility to track all screens while also completing their main job of teaching students. Teachers cannot just sit behind a screen with the classroom management system, as part of being a good teacher is actually a face-to-face communication with their students. As you can see here on the slide, while a teacher is working with one student, 3 other students are browsing on their devices, things I personally would like to know about. How can we expect a teacher to simultaneously monitor all of her students while also giving individual help to those students? It's simply not realistic. But yet the objectives are still there, and legislation will continue to hold schools responsible and demand ever-improving standards. Something has got to give somewhere. It is clear to us as experts in this area that in order to be able to help someone, we need to be able to recognize the early warning signs to be able to allow us to support these children when they need it. Similar to this tree needing care and attention to grow into a healthy tree, our children need support, love, and attention to help these individuals grow and flourish into capable, mentally healthy individuals as they go through the hardships of childhood. Now, one thing's for sure, children are always going to face hardships, but they need to know that there is someone there who can help guide and support them through these challenging situations. It will help us navigate these situations with the children in a healthy way. For a teacher, it will help bring awareness and knowledge to a situation to give them a more proactive intervention. If a problem is left to manifest inside a person's head with no support or guidance, the vulnerable child will become more at risk and isolated. This is where we can see an awful situation occur. So I ask you, do we currently have the ability to offer support in an early stage? Can we truly say we know about every issue a child faces at its conception? Smoothwall is passionate about ensuring that we are offering you the tools to be able to proactively support everyone who falls under your duty of care by providing a system that lifts the clouds and allows you to see clearly what is happening on a person's screen at any time. thereby providing the information required to support each individual early, when they need it, to significantly increase the chances of a person being able to continue to flourish and significantly decrease the number of safeguarding concerns in your school. So, what does this mean in context? The key issues we see are predominantly around self harm, bullying, drugs, and violence, but of course that can extend to radical issues and, in extreme cases, sexual grooming of vulnerable children. As you can see here, a child is writing a diary entry in a Word document offline. This individual is obviously struggling and adjusting to new school and isn't feeling very welcome. This is obviously an early warning sign that this student is feeling like she doesn't fit in and maybe a little bit depressed. The days of leaving all the bullies on the playground is over. This harassment follows them home via the internet. It is no surprise that 1 in 4 children have a mental health issue. The issue is not that. The issue is that we are unaware of what 25% is experiencing this mental health issue. Going back to the earlier statistic, if only 5% of students would confide in a teacher that they are being cyberbullied, would the same pool of students realistically be openly admitting that they are suffering from a mental health issue? Very doubtful. Needless to say, violence has always been an issue. I'm just going to run through a few quick statistics from a study ran by Syracuse University. On a typical day in the United States, 6 to 7 children are killed. Since 1992, approximately 190 shooting deaths have occurred in American schools. Fear of violence in school has been shown to negatively affect attendance rates of students and attrition rates of teachers and staff. Every day, approximately 100,000 children are assaulted at school. Additionally, 5,000 teachers are threatened with physical assault and 200 are actually attacked. Approximately 1 in every 8 students has reported carrying some form of a weapon to school. Now, these are obviously very eye-opening statistics. What we really need to realize is that most violence doesn't just happen random or out of the blue. These issues occur over time. Issues harvest and eventually lead to violence. With earlier intervention into an argument or troubled student, we can help change these statistics for the better. Self-harm is obviously a huge issue in our society as well. When self-harm begins, the child may or may not have the intentions of suicide. But when the idea of self-harm manifests, it leads to more drastic actions. The problem is that not all districts have a plan of actions when these students start to endure this pain. It is our responsibility to make sure that we are not only staying proactive in looking for the signs, but when the signs are there, we have a plan to take action and help these students. Unfortunately, suicide is a topic that can no longer be ignored. The number of children and teenagers who are taking their own lives has hit its highest rate in 14 years, with more than 4 suicides a week. Luckily, and when I say that is in light of how dark this topic is, suicide is not a quick spur of the moment decision. It will usually stem from one of the previous topics we spoke about. With early intervention, suicide can hopefully be prevented. Ultimately, the obligation we see as responsible adults to protect these students is also underpinned by legislation that we must understand and follow. We are seeing legislation regarding this continue to be written. David's Law in Texas, which holds a school legally responsible for bullying that occurs at school or on a school device. Indiana has also passed laws that require schools to report bullying instances, which in turn would also require them to actively monitor for such events. Ultimately, it is your decision to understand and recognize what is an appropriate form of monitoring. Is it a reliance on the teacher to physically see every instance, whether it be on the playground, the classroom, in the halls, or on a chat document? Or realistically, should we be offering teachers a helping hand in actually spotting this conception by offering them a true and real monitoring and alerting system that can not only see all online activity, but importantly, offline activity as well? It is a terrifying reality that many students will begin to write a suicide note in a Word document and then delete it, only to continue with the lesson as if nothing was happening. How can a teacher in charge of a class of 30 possibly spot that one student who purposely scribed the note when they knew the teacher couldn't see their screen, expect to help that student? This is an emotional release by the student and more likely a cry for help. We need to be able to give that help. If we take a moment to consider that 16,000 young people are absent from school due to bullying and pair that with the earlier statistic around how few young people would confide in a teacher that this is happening to them, we are ultimately suffering the consequences of what can be an invisible problem. And yet this is not only directly affecting our youth's mental health, but also their learning environment. Without the ability to intervene and support these children, awful consequences are occurring. With over 4 children committing suicide every week in 2017, these issues are having a real impact on the lives of children, who feel so helpless that this is their only way out. This is a very real problem that we recognize you are having to combat every day, a problem that legislation says we should have the ability to be aware of, yet we have no idea of knowing everything that goes on in a child's head every day. So what can we do? Well, importantly, there's no silver bullet to this. It is a long-term, multifaceted approach that's required. But what is clear is that schools need to be looking to create a safety net in order to ensure that teachers and leaders can be confident that nothing is slipping through undetected and being left to grow and ultimately impact at a later point in that child's life. This is a this is a combination of change in approach, education, and the adoption of more tools that are available to support those who are being tasked with creating this safety net. We are passionate about this, and we believe that all educational leaders need to be working together to help schools create safe and productive learning environments. As discussed, we recognize that you are trained and informed individuals in the context of safeguarding and passionate about keeping those under your care safe, which we have no doubt you are already working as hard as possible to do so. You, as authorities within your school, are best placed to do that. My role here is to simply share the research that we have led in the industry and to share with you Smoothwall's solution to a real life problem in the form of offering you a tool to allow early intervention. The reason we are here talking to you today and striving to continuously develop this monitoring proposition is because we recognize that this issue that is occurring today and currently going undetected will have a true impact in 3 to 5 years' time if we do not do anything to stop them. If we continue as we are, tomorrow will just be another day, and we will see years worth of tomorrows pass until we realize that we have let this issue manifest into something that we aren't able to harness and resolve. So instead, we propose you take action today to offer you a means of recognizing early warning signs, to allow you to intervene and support individuals to allow them to follow a healthy, meaningful, and supported path rather than what may be happening today behind closed doors with individuals silently suffering as we do not have the means to identifying their issue. From your perspective, do you think it's realistic that a school can create this safety net without the support of a solution which hands you these early warning signs? These are numbers that have specifically been pulled from our radar product. This truly pinpoints why there is a requirement to offer your teachers the support they need in a form of a monitoring solution, which takes accountability for recognizing these issues and proactively alerting your staff to them, to give these staff the ability to intervene when they need it. It would create significantly higher chance of being able to ensure that this does not spiral into a larger issue. In just 30 days, Radar was able to identify over 30,000 students who are at risk. Now, that's potentially 30,000 different students who are able to receive help they need before the issue is able to manifest. When it comes to Radar, you have three options. First, you can continue without anything, relying on a teacher to observe over a student's shoulder or what happens throughout the day. Or you have two Radar options. First, Radar Lite. Well, Radar is a cloud solution that actively monitors student digital footprint. Radar Lite, which is a free version for current customers until their renewal, will monitor all online activity and all traffic through port 80 and port 443. Radar, the premium version, will monitor all traffic on any device, whether a student is online or offline. This will monitor all applications, whether it be Facebook, Microsoft Word, or even a collaborative Google document. This product will monitor for threats to students' mental health, the district in general, or any other situation you may want to be aware of. When a threat is determined, Radar will take a screenshot of what the student is looking at and send it to the admins. This will allow the admins to take immediate action with concrete evidence and to help any student with whatever issues they may be dealing with. I'm going to jump into the interface here and show you around a little bit. Okay, when you log onto the Radar, this is what you're going to see. So this is a heat map. Immediately, it will give you a nice overview of what is going on across the district. As you can see, this is for the past 7 days, and there have been a few threats that you're going to want to be aware of. The location of the bubble is determined on the level of the threat. So the higher the bubble, like suicide, will mean the higher level of threat. The larger the bubble corresponds with the frequency of the search. As you can see, rape and suicide have both been labeled very high threats. Rape has been searched twice as many times, thus having a much larger bubble. Also on the heat map, you can filter by group or date. So if you are only interested in seeing what the freshman class has been looking at for the past 30 days, you can go to the drop down and choose that group. Now, right here, these are our groups. On your group, it would be based on your Active Directory or Google Directory, or any directory that you currently have. Obviously, you see suicide, and you're going to want to know more about that specific instance. So we're going to be able to click on that and see the 3 suicide things. If you want a different view, you'll be able to see this, and you'll have all 3 screen captures. So in this specific instance, the student was looking at why suicide is sometimes the answer. The sooner that child receives help, and the sooner that you're able to see that that child was looking at suicide related activity, the sooner that child will be able to realize that suicide is not the answer, and that he has people he can go to and talk to. I'm going to go into how it alerts now. As you can see here, you're going to be able to be alerted on a whole plethora of different categories. Suicide and health, obviously, you're going to want to be alerted on in the lowest amount of captures. When you scroll down, you're going to be able to set an email template, which will be sent to you as soon as the threshold has been hit. So you're going to receive not only the user's name, what machine they were working on, the violation threshold, where it was, and what actually occurred. From there, you're going to be able to log back on into the heat map and see exactly what was occurring. Now that's all I was planning on getting onto the interface side. I would love to show anyone who is interested in more detailed demonstration. After this, we're going to be sending out an email with a link to contact us for a full webinar, an evaluation if you would like, and pricing, as well as answer any individual questions you may have. I will open this up to questions right now. I don't know how much time we're going to have to get through them, but possibly 2 or 3. So I'm going to give it a second to get these questions in. I do see a few questions coming in. So the first question I'm getting is, how easy is this to install? So from my experience so far, it's been really easy to install. Radar is a client that goes on the device. So far, it's been self-installed by the schools, and has taken about 15 to 20 minutes to do so. So in short, it's very, very easy to install and does not take too much effort done on your end. Here's another question. How is this different from my current web filter and current monitoring solution? So web filter is going to protect a student from going to his website student, whereas Radar is going to not only it's going to currently monitor and alert you to any potential threat, which could potentially be an inappropriate website, but also goes into bullying via chats, offline activity, and suicide. The difference between maybe what you're currently using in terms of monitoring, such as a securely monitor, is that we're actually going to monitor offline activity as well. So if a student were on a Microsoft Word document writing a suicide note, we'd be able to screen capture that even though that the student was not online. It is a more proactive approach, whereas web filtering may be more of a reactive approach to this issue. And I'll answer one last question. This question is about pricing. This is obviously going to be vary based on the size of the district, so it's hard to me to answer this with multiple districts on. If you do want to quote or talk more about pricing, please click the link that we send you after this, and I'd be more than happy to not only answer more questions you may have, but also send out a quote and kind of talk next steps. But I really appreciate everyone taking some time out of their Tuesday to hop on and listen to me talk for 30 minutes. Please look out for that email after this, and take care of the rest of the day.